Our film begins with Michael and his daughter Stevie in the kitchen, where he is teaching her the secret of his legendary French toast, while his wife Jane helps them. At that moment, we feel they are the perfect family, just like the ones we see in commercials. But suddenly, their little son makes a fuss and starts crying and bothering them, so they run to him to calm him down. Stevie gets upset and says life has become hard since the little one arrived. Suddenly, the horror begins and the sky rains like a storm pouring down from above. The beautiful moment turns into a terrifying nightmare, and a large doll falls while the ground cracks under Stevie's feet, separating her from her parents as they argue about money and bills. Stevie is left completely alone and terrified with a frightening wave of broken dishes around her. At that moment, Stevie wakes up sweating heavily, and we then discover this was just a scary dream, and that Stevie and her little brother have both grown up. Stevie then looks at her brother's bed and finds him tossing and turning in his sleep. So she picks up the musical turtle, and the moment she turns it on, the little one falls asleep. At that point, Stevie hears her parents actually arguing, and the dream continues in reality. At that moment, Stevie discovers her parents are on the verge of bankruptcy, and her mother is pleading with her father to give up his dream of music and find another job that can put food on the table. But he completely refuses. At that moment, Stevie notices a lunchbox lying on the floor beside her little brother's bed. She rolls her eyes and sighs in boredom and wakes up the little one while telling him stop it already. Does the lunchbox have to end up on the floor every single day? The little one wakes up and looks at a rhinoceros drawing on the wall and says, with complete seriousness, that for Tony Lunchbox to know his way and come back. We then see Stevie going to the kitchen to prepare breakfast as usual. She goes to her father and tells him, Mom made breakfast and is waiting for you. Then she goes to her mother and tells her dad made breakfast and is waiting for you. And here, dear viewer, I remembered a beautiful quote that says, responsibility is what makes you mature, not age. The family finally gathers together and they ask about the little one hiding behind the curtain. Suddenly, Stevie gets very upset and her distress grows when she learns her mother is traveling tomorrow morning for a job interview in another city. Her mother says she has an opportunity to work at Deuce University as an assistant professor and is planning to apply for the position. Stevie notices her father is also uncomfortable and clearly struggling, but trying to escape from the sadness, and enthusiastically tells them he has reserved a table at a pizza restaurant for tomorrow and they will have a fun day until Mom returns. Stevie then decides to take some of the worry about her mother off her father's shoulders and approaches her mother and tells her she can work too, and they can all help together. But her mother gives a gentle laugh and completely dismisses the idea and reassures her that what is coming will be better. Her mother asks her to take care of her brother in her absence and help him with his research while getting him books about something other than magic and pirates. We then see Stevie and her little brother at the library, where Stevie tells her little brother to choose the classic books that teachers like and leaves him to go look around. The little one then notices a door marked staff only, and his curiosity grows and he decides to go in and explore the place. Meanwhile, Stevie is occupied with the library displays and is surprised to find a photo of her parents' first album. She calls out to her little brother, and at that moment, a young employee appears before her who looks charming and handsome and asks if she needs anything. Stevie gets flustered and tells him she is looking for her brother. We return to the little one who decided to enter the staff room and rummages through the books until he finds an old box and opens it with full enthusiasm, as if opening Ali Baba's cave. He is completely stunned when he finds a book called The Legend of Sandman. Suddenly, Stevie enters and hugs him and takes the book from him and opens it and tells him it is all pictures and will not help him with his research. At that point, the lights flicker and go out suddenly, and Sandman was about to enter on them. But it turns out to be the employee with messy hair coming in to fix the electricity and asks them to leave immediately. Stevie and her brother return home with a collection of books, and we discover the little one sneaked the Legend of Sandman book and brought it with him. His sister stares at him disapprovingly and tells him, "You stole the book. Do you not know that thieves go to hell?" The little one very casually responds, saying it is marked priceless, which means free honestly. His mind is something else entirely and needs insurance. He continues his amusing commentary saying he wants to discover the truth and says Sandman makes dreams come true. They sit and browse through the book together with great enthusiasm and drift into imagining what they wish could come true. Stevie then laughs like a little girl and says, "Come on, are you seriously still believing in these things? You are so naive." But it is clear this book is not ordinary, and what is coming will be far stranger. At night, while everything is calm, Stevie suddenly wakes up and is shocked to see her little brother's bed bouncing like a horse at the circus. She wakes her brother, and he is overjoyed and says, "My bed is moving. This is so cool." At that moment, the bed hits the wall and part of the house falls apart. Stevie is very scared, but her little brother is happy about what is happening. The bed then launches like a rocket, and Stevie grabs onto it to rescue her brother. It keeps running with them and flipping them left and right. Stevie finally manages to climb onto the bed with her brother in a breathtaking scene. At that moment, Stevie asks her brother to land the bed, and it actually moves them closer to the ground. and then keeps dodging people and cars before flying back up into the sky. Stevie is terrified, unlike her brother, who is loving the adventure. At that moment, the little one spots a button on the back of the bed, and the moment he presses it, the bed turns into a full-on rocket. Stevie screams, and the bed carries them above the clouds, and suddenly the stars shine more brightly and gather into a strange shape. Before we continue, I think you forgot to hit the like button. Press like now, my friend, and subscribe now. A glowing apparition appears before them with a calm but frightening voice saying, "Come to me and let me make your dreams come true." The little one looks at his sister and says, "This looks like it will grant me my dream of riding a dragon without getting burned." But the apparition suddenly disappears and the weather turns to thunder and lightning and the bed breaks apart. Stevie and her brother fall into a terrifying whirlpool. Before they hit the ground, Stevie wakes up in absolute terror to the sound of thunder and rain. We then discover this was just a dream. She finds her little brother on his bed and he tells her he had a beautiful dream where the bed was flying like a wild horse and took them to the stars. Stevie tells him it was a nightmare and they discover they shared the same dream. They go back to sleep and early the next morning, Stevie hears her mother's voice below getting into her car and her father's voice calmly trying to convince her they could stay here and not leave the house or the city, and that they could continue together. But her mother's voice comes back decisive and with pain in it, saying the job I'm going to has a higher salary, and we will be able to provide the children with better schools and a better future. Michael tries to convince her he cannot leave the house and the place where they lived their most beautiful moments. But Jane decides to pursue her dream even if it means being far from them. Stevie stays watching through the window in silence with sadness filling her eyes. She returns to her bed and takes the Sandman book and decides to believe her brother. Maybe the book can make her dream come true and she can live in a happy home with her family again. She then asks Sandman to make all her dreams come true, and the moment she falls asleep, Stevie travels in her dream to a very strange place where cornflakes and dots are talking, and all kinds of delightful things are happening. Stevie is very happy and her eyes light up with joy because her first dream has come true and she saw all the things she loves. Suddenly, her brother arrives flying on his bed and ruins the moment and starts annoying her. That is his specialty. Stevie gets irritated when she sees him and asks him, "Can you not even leave me alone in my dreams?" They then keep searching for Sandman so he can help them make their dreams come true. And a voice responds from behind something resembling their home refrigerator. When they reach the source of the sound, they find her brother's unicorn doll that had been missing, and they learn its name is Tony Lunchbox, which is what the little one had been searching for. He is overjoyed that he finally found it, and his dream came true. Stevie then asks Tony about Sandman's location, and he points up to the sky and warns them firmly, saying, "If you try to reach Sandman, this billion things will turn your dream into a nightmare." Stevie mocks him, but suddenly, all her teeth fall out, and everything turns horrifying with the sky going dark and everyone terrified. Tony says in fear that this is Nightmare, who sends the nightmares, and they must cross through her to meet Sandman. Suddenly, all the food rots and turns into terrifying zombies who attack Stevie and her brother, while Tony tries to defend them with fireballs but fails and runs away. At that moment, Stevie and her little brother disappear and wake up terrified. The little one asks Stevie to change his sheets as it seems he had an accident and tells her not to take him back there again. He goes looking for Tony behind the refrigerator and actually finds him and is overjoyed. He returns to his room with him saying, "Welcome back, Tony." He then finds Stevie reading the Sandman book and she tells him she found the secret. And to meet Sandman and make her dream come true, they must all go together because they said the spell together. He refuses and says he will never go back to that terrifying place. Stevie then takes out the turtle that puts him to sleep, but he resists and fights with her and tries to grab the turtle from her, and it falls to the floor and breaks. At that moment, their father enters and wonders what they are doing. The next morning, we see Stevie and her little brother with their father at the pizza restaurant, and Stevie tries to repair her parents' relationship and help them sing together again. But her father tells her it is difficult right now, and their conversation is interrupted by the sound of someone arguing with a person disguised as a teddy bear. Their father goes to stop the argument, and at that moment, a message from Jane arrives on Michael's phone. Stevie is stunned when she reads the message, and that night we see Stevie in her room very sad. She tells her little brother that their mother got the new job, and this means they will move from their home and their parents might also separate. Her little brother is very sad, and Stevie tells him they can solve all their problems if he agrees to sleep and go with her to Sandman. He hesitates at first, but finally agrees to sleep, and they actually sleep side by side and travel to a new dream. Tony Lunchbox appears to them in the dream again and tells Stevie she will never reach Sandman until she controls her dreams and enters a lucid dream. Stevie mocks him and challenges Nightmare that she can pass through her and reach Sandman. As usual, the dream turns into a terrifying nightmare, and they wake up and go back to sleep and enter a new nightmare. This time, an evil witch appears wanting to kill them, so they wake up and enter a new dream which turns into a nightmare where they see a zombie toaster trying to roast them in fire. They keep entering terrifying dream after terrifying dream, and in the last dream, a teddy bear named Frank tries to crush them between his hands. Tony Lunchbox pleads with him, saying, "We are both stuffed toys just like each other." Frank squeezes them with all his strength, and Stevie asks her little brother to be strong and not wake up. They actually succeed in staying asleep by holding each other's hands and thinking about the same thing together. They then think about their flying bed, and it comes to carry them and begin their journey to Sandman. The bed flies with them, but Frank blocks their path again. Stevie and her little brother think of a dynamite fist and defeat the Frank doll, and they are beyond happy celebrating their success in disbelief at what happened. And now, my friend, I want you to understand something. Nightmares will always exist. They'll keep chasing you forever. But the moment you decide to face them for the first time, you'll overcome them and all your fears. And only then they won't be your fears anymore. The bed continues carrying them to meet Sandman, but suddenly everything turns horrifying again. And the bed breaks apart and they fall into a terrifying whirlpool. Stevie asks her little brother not to wake up no matter what happens, and they hug each other. At that moment, they hear a terrifying voice telling them, "Wake up, wake up, wake up." But they do not give in and stay asleep. Afterward, they fall in a place full of sand with a strange appearance, and they do not understand what happened and keep saying, "We made it." At that moment, glowing birds emerge from the sand and swirl into a spiral, and then a castle made of sand rises from the ground to Stevie and her little brother's complete amazement. They decide to hold hands and imagine flying so they can reach the castle gate, and their plan succeeds. They are even more amazed when they see the castle workers are moving grains of sand. The moment they hear a sound, all the workers go to Stevie and her brother and lead them to a long staircase at the top of which Sandman appears singing in a beautiful performance. He is happy and tells them welcome. "It has been so long since I have seen anyone who could make it past Nightmare, but you two look like one strong team." He then asks them about their dreams so he can make them come true. Stevie tearfully asks him to make her family happy again. Sandman is moved and takes them to a magical place and tells them this is where they make dreams from what is like legendary stardust. And he sends it to Earth and says dreams are something beautiful and what gives our lives meaning. He then takes them to a place with a large hourglass and asks them to turn it and says, "With the last grain of sand, your dreams will come true." They turn the hourglass and the sand begins to fall, and he sprinkles some magical dust on them and says, "Sweet dreams." They then wake up and find their mother has returned from her trip, so they are overjoyed and gather for breakfast their father prepared. They laugh and joke and then all go out together, and life returns to being as happy as it once was. That night before Stevie falls asleep, she asks her mother whether she will accept the new job or not, and her mother tells her she will decline it. Stevie is overjoyed and hugs her father and mother and feels that at last her dream has come true. But Stevie then notices something strange in their room and finds all the broken things have been fixed, and the room is very clean and tidy. Her little brother gets suspicious and tells her this is a dream, because the broken picture frame is back intact. At that moment, the little one throws the picture, and it breaks, and the room wall cracks, and sand fills the place. They then discover they are still inside a dream. Sandman appears and tells them the hourglass has not finished yet for the dream to come true, and they must wait a little longer and stay living in the dream, thinking it is real and forgetting it is a dream. This means Stevie and her little brother will be asleep forever. He continues and tells them he knows the feelings and emotions of their parents and that they have stopped caring for each other for a long time. Stevie feels deeply sad. Her little brother tries to convince her they should return to reality, but suddenly their father and mother appear in the dream and ask them to stay. Stevie decides to listen to them, but her little brother stops her and tells her this is not real and they cannot stay in the dream forever. Stevie tells him she cannot go back to the arguments and problems and separation again. She tells him, "Let me be. Stop ruining my dream like you ruin everything else." Her little brother is shocked, and the sadness shows in his eyes, and his hand slips, and he falls and wakes up, returning to reality, leaving Stevie alone in the dream, shocked and scared, not understanding what is happening and waiting for the sand to run out of the hourglass. We then go to the little one waking up furious at his sister and trying to wake her and calling their father to help him, and they take her to the hospital. The family gathers in sadness and anxiety over Stevie, and the little one tells them she escaped to her dreams because of the problems between them. We return to Stevie's dreams where she is with her family having breakfast happy and content just like before. But the moment Stevie enters her room, she is shocked to find the room is hers alone, and all of her little brother's things are gone except for his toy Tony Lunchbox. Stevie recalls the memories of the day they bought Tony and becomes very sad and feels she misses her little brother terribly. She tries to wake up and get out of the dream and breaks the mirror to wake herself, but it does not break, and she keeps calling out to her little brother, who hears her in reality and decides to come to her in the dream and follow her. He opens his bag and keeps searching for the turtle that puts him to sleep, and at that moment his father and mother are stunned by what he is doing, not understanding why. He tells them he needs to sleep right now and gives them the Sandman book and says everything is written here. He activates the turtle and goes to sleep and rides his flying bed and sets off. On the other side, we see Stevie in her dream angry and breaking things in her room trying to wake up from the sleep. At the same time, her little brother tries to pass through Nightmare to bring his sister back and fights the evil witch and the hot dog in a frightening, terrifying nightmare. After a long journey, the little one fails to reach his sister and wakes up from the dream. Stevie breaks down because she cannot get out of the dream and keeps crying and tells her little brother, "I am so sorry. You are better than any dream." Suddenly, her little brother enters the room and she is overjoyed and hugs him. When she asks, "How did you pass through Nightmare?" he tells her he pleaded with Nightmare, who told him she did what she did to protect him and that nightmares are not meant to scare us but to make us stronger than before and face anything bad in our lives. She says happy dreams make us escape from reality and our problems instead of thinking and solving them. She asks him to hold on to the person closest to him so he can face any challenge. At that moment, Stevie hugs her brother, but suddenly Sandman appears and tries to prevent Stevie from waking up from the dream. He cracks the floor and knocks her little brother down to separate him from his sister so she stays asleep and living in her dreams. But Stevie does not give up and jumps after her brother. Suddenly, Tony appears on the flying bed and takes them to reach the hourglass and smash it so Stevie can wake up. Sandman does not stay quiet and keeps attacking them and preventing them from reaching the hourglass. After many attempts, Stevie and her brother fail to reach it, but at the very last moment, their father appears and quickly opens the door, and their mother comes and hits Sandman. We learn they use the Legend of Sandman book to reach their children. Stevie sees them and tries to break free from the attack of the sand grains and presses the flight button on the bed. The bed launches with full force and the sand grains fall from it, and Stevie and her brother and Tony reach the hourglass location. At the very last moment, Stevie and her little brother unite and stop the hourglass's power. The family reunites and their mother reassures them they will never be separated, and they all hug each other. They then smash the hourglass to stop its power forever and return to their lives. We learn their mother accepted the new job, and they will all go and live in a new city near her work, and their father will have a singing band in the new place. Stevie will finally have a room all to herself. They all stand together, saying farewell to their old home and set off on their journey to their new home and new life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive the latest videos.